All right. No one is looking. Now let's go find it. Here it is. Now let's go.
Hey, what are you doing here?
Fire!
What?
The following message is transmitted at the request of the Fairfax County Emergency Management. An explosion has been reported in the town of Fort Belvoir. The details surrounding this explosion are largely unknown. Some residents in the town reported hearing what appeared to be a cannon shot, and then an explosion that left a crater in the town. All residents in the town of Fort Belvoir are advised to remain vigilant in case of further events. Stay tuned to this channel for further information.
The civil authorities have issued a civil danger warning for Burlington NJ, Monmouth NJ, and Ocean NJ, beginning at 5:15 p.m. and ending at 8:15 p.m. WNJT. The following message is transmitted at the request of the New Jersey State Emergency Management. At approximately 5:09 p.m., an explosion was reported at the McGuire Air Force Base around 16 miles southeast of Trenton. It is not currently known what threat this poses to the public. Regardless, all residents within 5 miles of the McGuire Air Force Base are being placed under voluntary evacuation at this time. Towns and cities that are under this voluntary evacuation order are as follows: Browns Mills, Fort Dix, New Hanover, North Hanover, Pemberton, Plumstead, Springfield, Upper Freehold, and Wrightstown. If you live within one of the mentioned towns or cities, consider evacuating. This is not a mandatory evacuation order, but is strongly recommended. Stay tuned to this channel for further information.
Okay, so do we know the person behind all these attacks?
Actually, we do. The man in question has done some pretty serious stuff in the past. One of these included involvement in the crash near Beaver, Oregon, in 2024.
Wait, so you're telling me he was responsible for the crash that killed 15 and injured 37?
Basically, yes. It was later revealed that he had hacked into the train car before it departed from Beaver. This led it to crash between Tigard and Tualatin.
God! Imagine how bad it could have been if the train went all the way to Wilsonville. And why have we not done an investigation on this guy before all this had happened? This could have all been prevented, for God's sake.
I'm afraid I don't have an answer to your question, sir. We are trying to figure out as much information as possible.
I understand that. And if we don't get the investigation finished, then at least we tried, am I right?
Sir, I've just found something.
You have? Well, what is it?
The man that orchestrated the attacks at Fort Belvoir and the McGuire Air Force Base has ties to the Russian government. In fact, he served in their government between 2020 and 2027.
Oh dear. I don't like the sound of that. I should probably... Oh my
What
god!
was that?
Oh no!
Oh my God!
I just heard a blast from outside the building. Does anybody know what's going on?
I have no idea. I'm not sure if there's a second attack or anything, but I think we should get to the underground shelter now! Oh no!
Attention, all workers in the Pentagon. An explosion has been reported just outside the building. Everyone is to get to the underground shelter right now.
And right as soon as I said it too. Great timing if you ask me.
Well, what are you all waiting for? Let's just get down into the underground shelter before we all get killed.
Everybody run!
Shelter in place warning for the entire District of Columbia. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. At 6:05 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, an explosion was reported just outside of the Pentagon. This explosion has caused minor damage to the Pentagon, as well as damage to surrounding structures within around a 3-block radius. Residents in the District of Columbia are advised to shelter in place for further events that may transpire. Stay tuned to this channel for any additional information.
Well, now that we have to be in an underground shelter, how are we going to keep the American public safe from any future attacks?
Guys, I just found something out about the person who detonated the explosive near the Pentagon.
Oh really? What is it?
They're working for another country's government,
And which one would that be?
China.
What? Are you serious?
I'm afraid so. I also found out that he also works for a terrorist organization within the country that is extremely anti-American.
Wow. I know they caused a trade disagreement in 2019, but this is beyond unacceptable. I have to inform the president about this.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. President? It's the Chief of Staff at the Pentagon.
Oh, hello there, Mr. Pinford. Is there an urgent situation?
Yes, sir. The people behind the attacks are working for the governments of Russia and China.
What? How did you find that out?
After extensive research, me and my coworkers at the Pentagon came to that conclusion.
This just doesn't sit well with me at all. I think there is only one option to take now.
Yep. And I think we both know what option that is.
National Information Center statement. Stand by for a message from a representative of the President of the United States.
Good morning, my fellow Americans. If you all were aware of the events that occurred yesterday, multiple attacks took place on the east coast of the United States, all of which were on military strongholds. The first occurred at Fort Belvoir in Virginia, the second at the McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey, and the third outside the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. After extensive research, United States government officials confirmed that each of the suspected terrorists were working for governments of outside nations, specifically Russia and China. In addition, the man behind the explosion at the Pentagon is part of an anti-American terrorist group in China. This nation has grieved for long enough with these events that occurred yesterday. As such, I must deliver a message I did not want to have to make. As of midnight Eastern Daylight Time, October 30, 2029, the United States has declared war on the nations of Russia and China. Please note that this was a declaration we did not come to easily. Most of us here in Congress had actually debated on whether or not we should actually go to war with the two nations. However, after the events that occurred at the three military locations, we simply could not put it down any longer. Due to the declaration of war, the President has declared martial law for the entire country until further notice. This is only for the safety of the American people. To repeat, we are now at war with Russia and China. Those who died in these attacks did not die in vain, and will be avenged with full force. Thank you. And God bless America.
That was a message from a representative of the President. At this time, it is highly advised that you return to your homes and do not come out, as martial law is in effect. Stay tuned to this or other channels for further information and updates.
Civil danger warning for the states of North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. The following message is transmitted at the request of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Countless reports of tank attacks have come in from cities across the central United States within the past 24 to 48 hours. Cities that have reported tank attacks are as follows: Houston, Texas; San Antonio, Texas; Dallas, Texas; Austin, Texas; Oklahoma City, Oklahoma; Omaha, Nebraska; Wichita, Kansas; Lincoln, Nebraska; Overland Park, Kansas; Sioux Falls, South Dakota; Kansas City, Kansas; Olathe, Kansas; Topeka, Kansas; Fargo, North Dakota; Rapid City, South Dakota; Bismarck, North Dakota; Aberdeen, South Dakota; Brookings, South Dakota; Watertown, South Dakota; Mitchell, South Dakota; Yankton, South Dakota; and Pierre, South Dakota. These cities have suffered minimal to apocalyptic destruction. All residents in the central United States are advised to shelter in place or evacuate immediately. While it is not a requirement to evacuate these cities, it is highly advised due to the anticipated destruction of these cities. Stay tuned to this channel for further information.
Well, Russia and China haven't done anything major. And it's been nearly 6 months since the outbreak of World War III.
You got that right. And if conditions stay the same, it'll just be fighting on battlefields. There won't be any nuclear weapons like the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki back in 1945.
Yeah, let's try not to repeat that again, okay?
Sounds good to me. We weren't planning on doing it anyway. Wait a minute. What's going on? What? Oh no! Sir, come take a look at this.
Huh? What's going on now?
We just detected the launch of multiple Russian and Chinese nuclear missiles. These are confirmed to have nuclear warheads and are scheduled to strike the United States.
What? Show me, now!
Here it is.
Oh god, there's 10 of each. We gotta sound the alarm.
I'm on it. I'll do that right now.
We interrupt our programming. This is a national emergency. Important instructions will follow. The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States government and the North American Aerospace Defense Command. This is not a test. To repeat, this is not a test. At 12:07 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, NORAD detected the launch of 20 Russian and Chinese missiles. These missiles are confirmed to contain nuclear warheads and are expected to impact within the next 30 minutes. The target cities are as follows: Omaha, Nebraska; Orlando, Florida; Riverside, California; St. Petersburg, Florida; Seattle, Washington; Mesa, Arizona; Honolulu, Hawaii; Indianapolis, Indiana; Dallas, Texas; New York City, New York; Sacramento, California; Tulsa, Oklahoma; Arlington, Virginia; Charlotte, North Carolina; Albuquerque, New Mexico; Jacksonville, Florida; Modesto, California; Los Angeles, California; Baltimore, Maryland; and New Orleans, Louisiana. All residents within a 500-mile radius of the listed cities are strongly advised to seek out a fallout shelter. Fallout is a product of nuclear explosions. Prolonged exposure to fallout will result in certain death. If you cannot find a fallout shelter, local authorities will help you. Gather essential supplies, such as food, water, clothing, medical supplies, and a battery-powered radio. Make sure you have supplies to last you at least 14 days. Make sure to turn off ventilation units, close and lock doors and windows, and seal any cracks if you decide to shelter in place. The President is expected to speak on all stations shortly. Stand by for this message. This is an emergency action notification. All broadcast stations and cable systems shall transmit this emergency action notification message. This station has interrupted its regular programming at the request of the United States government to participate in the emergency alert system. During this emergency, most stations will remain on the air to provide news and information to the public in assigned areas. This is WTVS. We will continue to serve the Detroit area. If you are not in this area, tune now to a station providing news and information for your local area. You are listening to the emergency alert system serving the Detroit area. Do not use the telephone. The telephone line should be kept open for emergency use. The emergency alert system has been activated.